Alrighty, we're live. Welcome to the Uprise podcast, pregame edition. We're pregaming the Blazers at the Kings. The Blazers are in Sacramento tonight, and they're in a game that's kind of an important game to win, coming off a season-opening loss, which is something that us as Blazer fans, we're not quite used to. The Kings will be without Marvin Bagley. They could be without Buddy Hield. I haven't got an update on his status since yesterday, but he was questionable. So those are two important starters for the Sacramento Kings. So without those guys, this is a game that Portland should win. This is a game that they need to win. They got a lot of games on the road after this. They got 3 more. Then they come home for a game, and they're back on the road. So this early season tough schedule is already hitting us. So need to start trying to get some wins, and it starts tonight in Sacramento. Now, before we get into that, we got a couple NBA games going on right now. Hornets are beating the Timberwolves 12-2, which is a bit surprising. Hornets were supposed to be the worst team in the NBA going into the season. They won opening night, and right now they're beating the Timberwolves by 10. And the Celtics are taking on the Raptors in an interesting game. The Celtics are up 11-10. Other action tonight, you have the Knicks going to Brooklyn. They're staying in town. They're facing the Nets. You got the Wizards and the Thunder, Bulls, Grizzlies, Mavericks taking on the Pelicans. Those are 2 Western Conference sleepers. Mavericks are 1-0. Pelicans are 0-1. Pelicans are in their home opener. Suns go to the Nuggets. We'll see if the Suns can move to 2-0 because the Suns blew out the Kings that we play tonight. The Suns blew them out on opening night by 20 points. And then the Jazz are in LA facing the Lakers. We'll see if they can make the Lakers go 0-2. So with our post-game show tonight, I will update the scores and all that. I will be live right after this game around 9:30 or 10, and I'll be recapping this action. So with that being said, what are some of your keys for the game tonight, Eric?
Well, for one, I know there's never a must-win game this early, but I will start to be panicking a little bit if we lose tonight. The main thing is we have to do a better job of keeping the three-point percentage down for the other team, and that starts with not helping off your guy on the perimeter as much as they were doing, and being okay with letting guys drive to the basket when you have Whiteside and Collins back there. You don't need to help them. Like, let them do their job, and you stay out on the three-point shooters and do their job. Like you said, if Hield doesn't play, that's a big relief for us because he's their best three-point shooter. So that'll help us a little bit with that defense, but we still can't give as many open looks as we gave last game.
Yeah, I agree, and I talked about it a lot on the post-game show. Our interior defense is phenomenal. We should be pressuring up on the perimeter, taking away a three-point line, making guys drive at our 2 rim protectors. Now, the first unit defended a lot better than the second unit,
right.
So it wasn't as much of a problem with the first unit. But even with the second unit, Scal looked great protecting the rim, I thought, in the first game. And that was a bit of a surprise because I thought he struggled defensively in the preseason, but he was protecting the rim well. He was communicating well. But it was just like poor closeouts, man. It's just guys closing out too short, a couple feet too short. It was guys getting lost. Anthony was getting lost a little too much on the defensive end. It was guys over helping, and I forget who referenced this. I think it was Whiteside reference that guys were over helping. I know there was a specific play where Jokic drove, kind of got under the hoop, and Bazemore was stuck in no man's land, kind of helping, but Whiteside didn't need his help, and Jokic just kicked it to the corner, and Bazemore wasn't ready to run back out there. Yep. Wide open 3. It was silly stuff like that, stuff that's definitely fixable. Our rim protection is going to be elite. It was a lot of fun seeing those two protect the rim together. That's one of my favorite aspects of this team. So we just need to get up on threes. We can't let teams continue to hit 18 to 23s on us. The Suns cooked us in the preseason. The Nuggets just cooked us. It'd be nice to lock down a team from the three-point line. Hopefully that starts tonight.
Yeah, and it's not just the amount of threes, but the percentage and how many open, like wide open without a defender within 5 feet. That's very concerning. But to me, that's easily fixable if you just stay home and stay disciplined. And that's something you can clean up. Whereas the interior defense, if you don't have the personnel to defend the inside, then that's not something you can just change easily and scheme for. So I'm much more encouraged the fact that the interior defense was great and the perimeter defense was bad, because I think that is a slightly more fixable problem. Um, Especially like you said, if they just learn not to go for steals and stuff. That's going to be hard for Bazemore because he's he's used to going for steals, and it works sometimes. But like in that situation that you described, that was one of the key moments in the game where he left Murray open in the corner for a three, and we can't.
Yeah, it wasn't even like he was going for a steal though.
Right.
That was just kind of like it was more him falling asleep. I don't know if you know the play I'm talking
I
about,
do,
but
because when I was there and I was watching it, and I knew exactly what happened when it happened. So
yeah.
yeah. So one thing though, so to speak a little more about the elite defense on the interior, Denver only scored 22 points in the paint, and they were one of the leaders last year, over 50 points per game in the paint. So the fact that we only gave up 22 points in the paint, one, speaks to how badly our perimeter defense was. But I mean, that's if we allow like under 40 points per game in the paint, that's like elite defense. So I'm very encouraged by that, and like I said, we just need to learn how to trust the bigs, that they have your back if guys drive, and stay home on the shooters. Because to me, I
Yeah.
thought Stotts' philosophy was always to take away the three and the inside, right, and to force them into 2-pointers. So it seems kind of weird that we're having trouble forcing them off the 3-point line.
Yeah, that's true. Quick little side note on that. Isn't it funny how our defense is designed to give up mid-range jumpers, yet we shoot a ton of mid-range
Yeah,
jumpers? I think that's kind of funny.
yeah, we like shoot a majority of it,
Yeah.
especially CJ.
Um,
So
yeah. So,
I
but
I actually looked up Sacramento. So last year they averaged right around where Denver was at, just over
hmm
50 points per game in the paint, which kind of
yeah,
surprised me because they seem more of a perimeter-oriented team. But I guess Fox likes to get in the paint a lot. So if we hold them again under that amount, under 50, or much lower, like 22, like we only held Denver to, I think that'll reinforce what we're saying about our elite interior defense, and then hopefully the percentage for three for them is a lot lower.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Just want to check in with the chat. Is our mic sync good, or is it falling behind a little bit? Um, I'm gonna check that. First, give me any other thoughts you had about the game and going into tonight, because I'm gonna check our mics and all that.
So I think ball movement was a huge problem. I think I'm echoing. Yeah. So ball movement was a huge problem last game, and that was we only had 13 assists. That's not the way to beat good teams like Denver, not moving the ball well. So we definitely need to improve that. 13 assists to 20 turnovers is not a good recipe for winning. Um, Stotts teams the last few years have not really been among. They've always been towards the bottom of the league in assists per game. But I think that we have the personnel, kind of like we were saying with the defense, just we need to trust players to get the job done a little better and not have to go one-on-one as much. Because that was, to me, the main problem in the last game is too much going one-on-one, especially with CJ, where I noted at least 6 times, because I had a guy tell me in front of me that I've said that 6 times during the game, that CJ took a mid-range jumper when he had like 2 or 3 guys on him, and he had Scal or Collins or Whiteside wide open underneath the hoop. If he just dumps it off, we have a dunk. And that's one evolution of CJ's game that we've talked about a lot, and that is if he uses his ball handling and his ability to get into that paint elbow area to create shots for others versus just for himself, that he could become unguardable if he ever took that step. So hopefully he can learn. He watches film and sees that he has those passing lanes open if he uses them, especially when he's struggling shooting. And hopefully he gets better at that. But he hasn't the last couple of years. His assists have gone down every year the last 3 or 4 years. So it's kind of discouraging that he tried to shoot so much last game. So hopefully he can trust his teammates a little bit more, especially on nights when he's not shooting well.
Yeah, I agree, man. It goes back to what I said all year last year when I was covering them for True Blazer Fan. He has to find ways to make impacts other than scoring the ball. He has to find ways to make impacts when his shot isn't falling, and I talked about this heavily on my post-game show. That was an example of a game where he wasn't making much of an impact because he was forcing a lot of shots and his shots weren't falling. His defense has gotten a bit better. I don't think he was bad defensively last night. A couple other people I heard said he was bad defensively last night. I don't know. From what I saw, he didn't look too bad on that end. But yeah, definitely missed some passes. Could definitely work on his lob passes, and it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just something that I was really hoping he'd improve going into this season. It was really his one major weakness was making the right pass, and just basing off that first game, he hasn't improved that. So
yeah, it's so hard though when you're so used to creating your own shot and having to do a lot of the work yourself. Like I said, it takes time to start trusting that you have guys. But he seems to have had a good relationship, like on Twitter, with Whiteside in the past. So hopefully they can gel a little bit. All it takes is Whiteside a few times saying, "Dude, I'm 6 for 6 from the field right now, and I'm wide open. Like, give me the ball." That's another thing is when you have a guy who hasn't missed a shot. He missed a hook shot later in the fourth quarter, so he was 6 for 7. But like, most of his shots were hustle plays or dump off passes where he was at the rim. Like, you need to like reward that guy for getting the offensive rebounds every once in a while and throw him a post entry pass, or like we were talking about, if CJ's driving, look for him on that play versus always shooting the ball. Yeah, it's just frustrating to watch when CJ's struggling and the offense isn't moving the ball at all. Mm-hmm.
oh, muted. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it, DeSage. Beef Blitz said, "Hey, I have a question for you guys. Do you think our three-point completions are going to go up, and why were they down?" It's bad shooting for one game. 7 for 28, I believe, is what they shot. Bazemore was 1 for 7. Simons was 2 for 7. Some of those were bad shots. Bazemore and Simons forced a couple transition shots that I really didn't like. Contested threes early in the clock, and it's like you can get that shot at any point in the possession, so I don't know why you're shooting it with 18-19 on the shot clock. So some of it was bad shot selection. Some of it was just not knocking down open shots. Bazemore missed a couple of open shots. I don't think he's going to shoot 1 for 7 consistently. I don't think Simons is going to shoot 2 for 7 consistently. And if they do, they're not going to be in the rotation anymore. So 3-point completions will go up. I'm not really worried about our shooting. We knock down 3 more of those threes, and we win that game. So, I mean, 10 for 28, that's not even that great of a percentage either. I'm not worried about our shooting. We have solid shooters. We have good shooters, so we'll be fine.
A couple times we ran an off-ball double screen with Whiteside and Collins for one time it was for Dame, and one time I think it was for Bazemore or Simons or someone like that. And both times it resulted in a wide open 3 that was missed. But I mean, I'll take that shot all day. Any of those guys shooting a wide open 3, they'll fall eventually.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just checking our audio. That's why you were echoing earlier. I was checking our audio. I think our audio is a lot better. At some point, I'll get a better computer here so that I'm able to make sure everything's. I won't even have to make sure everything's synced. Everything will be synced for you guys. But yeah, there was a number of different things to talk about from that last game. And we'll kind of rehash some of those things after this game to see if they improve, to see if there's still problem areas. But I kind of want to preview the Sacramento Kings. So do you have keys that we need to focus on in terms of beating the Sacramento Kings?
Well, Bagley got hurt in their first game. I think it was his hand he had surgery on. So he's out 4 to 6 weeks. He's definitely someone who can score in the post, shoot a little bit. So that helps not having him in there. They'll probably move Bezlika to the starting power forward position like he played last year.
Bezlika.
I said Bezlika. I don't know. How do you say it? You say it better than me.
Bielitsa. It's actually fun to say. Bielitsa.
So he's a good shooter from the outside, not as much of a post-up threat. So I think they still have a solid lineup, and we just have to protect the threes. If Hield plays, you definitely have to get out on him as a shooter. Can't let Barnes get going. And then just Fox is kind of tricky because he's almost one that you want to go under picks against until he proves that he starts hitting some threes. So it might not be the worst strategy. You don't want to leave him wide open, but kind of give him some space so he can't drive. But with our interior defense, I'm also kind of wanting to push him into the middle to see what happens. But you can't get in a situation where the big has to come into the middle and leave his guy, and then he just dumps it off for easy dunks. Dedmon can come out and shoot the three as well. He's not much of a post-up either, so it might take Whiteside and Collins away from the hoop with Bezlich. I can't say it. It might take both of them outside the perimeter, but as long as one of those guys is in good help position, I think we should be okay.
Yeah, I agree. I'm assuming Buddy Hield plays tonight. The Sacramento Kings tweeted out an injury list report. It said Buddy Hield, left ankle sprain, is questionable tonight versus Blazers. The first reply on that post was by Buddy Hield himself, who said, LOL. So I'm guessing that Buddy Hield is going to play tonight, just based off of that. So our backcourt's going to have to win that matchup. It's Dame versus De'Aaron, and it's CJ versus Buddy. Our backcourts, if they win that matchup, we should win going away, because I do think our front court is better, especially since they don't have Bagley. Whiteside versus Dedmon's going to be a bit interesting. Dedmon can shoot the three, so this could be another issue with Whiteside maybe not getting out all the way. But Dedmon's a guy that Whiteside has played a lot against since Dedmon played in Atlanta the last year or two. So that was in Whiteside's division. That was in Miami's division. So Whiteside kind of knows his game. They know each other. But they're a team that can really shoot. So this is going to be a good test to see if we've improved our three-point defense, because Bielitsa last year was a 43% three-point shooter or something like that. He was above 40%. Barnes can shoot the three at small forward. Bogdanovich off the bench, he can shoot the three. Dedmon can shoot the three. I don't know who their bigs are behind those two. I guess I don't think Harry Giles is playing tonight.
He's out, I think, for the first few games. They have Rashawn Holmes, I think. Not sure if he's suspended either, but he's not much of a shooter, but he's one of those like lob threats.
Yeah, I assume Barnes will play some small ball four to get Bogdanovich more minutes at the three. So Holmes is really their only guy in the lineup who can't shoot the three ball at a good clip. And these guys play fast as well, so we're going to have to guard the three in transition, which has been a problem area of ours, is not getting back and covering the three-point line. Gary Harris had a couple transition threes in that Denver Nuggets game. So that's going to be a good test for us. I like that we're playing another good three-point shooting team, a team that we should beat, because if we're able to improve, we'll be able to see it. And the thing is, our defense might improve, and they still might shoot the lights out because they have a lot of good shooters. But, you kind of just got to base it on what do you see on the floor? What's the eye test say? Like, are they covering these three-pointers? Is Sacramento hitting a bunch of super contested three-pointers compared to Denver, who got a lot of open ones? That's kind of the thing that I'm looking out for tonight.
And I can already know what their strategy is going to be. They're going to go small, like you said, and force Collins and Whiteside to the perimeter. And we just have to make sure we're disciplined and the rotations are good. But just don't leave heels. Don't leave don't leave Vegeta. Vegeta.
Bajika.
Don't leave those guys open. Um, I think we'll be fine. I fully expect the Blazers to come out firing on all cylinders tonight, and I'm going to be a little disappointed if they're not.
Yeah, agreed. Camping Skeeter just got the notification from YouTube. Yeah, I don't know why it sent it so late. Wish they'd send it on time, but YouTube's going to be YouTube. DeSage, feel like Zach is going to kill it. I also feel like Zach could have a good game. I feel like Sacramento is a team that he always played solid against. I could be completely wrong on that. But Bielitsa is a guy that Collins can post up, I think. Bielitsa is like 6'9". He is strong. He is kind of bulky, but Collins is a 7-footer. Bielitsa, his body, his size kind of reminds me of Bogdanovich. We saw how Zach worked over Bogdanovich in the preseason in Utah. So Zach could have a good game, especially if he can knock down a couple threes. He'll be good.
So I hope Stas doesn't match them small. I want to like force teams to match us this year playing big versus going small to match other teams. I think that's where you get in a lot of trouble is when you're always trying to play to what the other team does instead of them forcing them to fit what you do. So yeah, just punish them inside. I believe Zach was 2 for 2 on isolated post-ups last game. Both times he got the ball, he had one really good up and under move against Millsap for a lay-in, and then the other time he had a smaller defender on him and he got double teamed by Jokic and still made a little baseline jump hook thing. But those were the only 2 times we even went to him. So like if a guy's scoring in the post, like give him the ball more in the post, especially when your perimeter shooters aren't doing anything. It's just frustrating that we're not forcing the ball inside a little more. Especially when Jokic had 3 fouls in the first quarter, you'd think you'd try to go at him a little bit in the beginning of the third quarter and try to establish some inside presence, but it didn't happen. We still scored a lot of points in the paint, but they're mostly off of like penetration and dump offs and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot.
Yeah, I mean, our offense is going to be fine. Our offense is going to be fine. DDog468 money sign says, even though we lost against Denver, I feel very good about the team moving forward. Give them some time to build on-court chemistry, and we will become an elite team. We are contending this year for sure. I like the optimism because a lot of Blazer fans were freaking out after that first game.
I just don't like losing at home.
Yeah, especially a home opener. That streak's gone. So, I mean, that kind of sucked. But, this team needs to figure out some things, but I think they're a very talented roster. I think they'll be fine. Also, for Camping Scooter that said just got the notification from YouTube, I always tweet out right when we go live. So if you like turn on notifications for tweets, you should be able to tell right when we go live right away. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, then you definitely need to follow me on Twitter. I'm trying to hit that 400 follower mark. Also follow Eric. That's why we got our ads down here in the graphics. That's why we got the fancy little graphics down here. So
also, as we get rid of some of the technical glitches that we always seem to have, will be more like regular times, so it'll be a little easier to find us.
Yeah, I'm in the process of moving, so my life's been hectic. Also, I'm doing it off a laptop. So once I'm able to afford like a good computer, the setup will be good. I'll get some good lighting. We'll be able to do it in higher definition, all that. Like, this will get better. Beef Blitz, once chemistry is down, and when and if we pick a piece at small forward, we'll have a high chance to win a chip. I still think we need to make a trade, but I'm kind of holding off on a lot of the trade talk. What's funny is a lot of my mailbag questions are trade questions. Yeah. Even though the season just started, it's trade questions. So I'm thinking about. Let me know if you think this is a good idea, Eric. I'm thinking about separating trade questions and like other questions about anything else and doing like a trade talk Tuesday. Hopefully getting my mailbags back to Monday. Like I said, I'm moving, so that's why mailbags have been middle of the week and kind of random, but it'd be cool to do like a Monday mailbag and then like a trade talk Tuesday for everybody asking trade questions, because if you go look at the mailbag right now, it's all trade questions, and it's just kind of funny. It's like season just started.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because any trade stuff right now is just hypothetical down the road type stuff, and you have to see how other teams' players play first, because like, I mean, who knows if a Chicago is even going to trade Otto Porter this year, or if Blake Griffin's hurt right now. Like, is that a concern, or is um, Detroit going to stick with him? Someone already mentioned Aaron Gordon in the trade thing. Like, I don't know if Orlando's even willing to trade Aaron Gordon right now.
He said, "Could you see us trading Whiteside and Simons for Aaron Gordon and DJ Augustine? That would be a horrible trade. That would be a horrible, horrible trade. Aaron Gordon's overrated. He's a guy who doesn't shoot that well, is an efficient scorer. He's kind of a playmaker, but he doesn't defend well. He's not a good rebounder for a power forward. He just kind of puts up raw volume numbers, but isn't really conducive to helping a team win games, and especially when you're talking about Dame and CJ as a backcourt who needs some floor spacing and rim protection behind them. Having a power forward that can't play defense all that well and can't shoot all that well is not a good idea. He's a good lob target, but Dame and CJ don't really throw lobs either, so they couldn't make use of that. Aaron Gordon just isn't a good fit for our team. He might, improve because he's still young, but it's just not a guy that would help us win right now, and I have questions about him ever turning into the type of player that would help us win a championship at that power forward position. So I'm not a fan of Aaron Gordon. And then DJ Augustine is meh. DJ Augustine,
he's not really going to solve any problems of ours.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess we have to give up Simons to get back Gordon, but I wouldn't give up Simons to get back Gordon.
So, quick,
that's a no for me.
So someone at the game asked me why they are even playing Simons right now, and I believe you have to play him right now, and that's because he's not going to be good at times like last game, but you have to get him in the game to learn. Like, he's not going to learn on the bench what he needs to do to take that next step. So I believe right now is the perfect time to get him minutes. Maybe not, 20 plus minutes a lot of times, but you have to get him into game situations, into like situations where he has to run the second unit and stuff like that. Let him take his lumps now. That way, by the end of the season, hopefully he's. He looked really nervous last game. Really. He was kind of jittery and stuff. So hopefully by the, quarter of the way through the season, he starts to get over that. And then further on down the season, you start to see the growth and like, oh, okay, now he's starting to get his flow going. He's just too talented to keep on the bench or to throw in a trade like that right now.
Yeah, I agree. Not everybody's going to come in like Damian Lillard his first game and absolutely blow it up.
Right.
I know it's not Anthony's first game, but it's kind of his first game in terms of like playing like a legit NBA role on a game that they're not trying to throw away at the end of the season. So it was basically kind of like his first game. I feel like last year was kind of Simon's redshirt year. So he's going to be jittery. A lot of his shots were close. It wasn't like he was out there airballing. Had a bad turnover where he went to pass the ball and like kind of carried it. That was a big mistake from him, but like those will be fixed throughout the season. You let the kid take his lumps throughout the season, he'll be in a spot by the postseason that I think he could really help this team as a scorer and maybe even a facilitator off the bench. Gray Hughes.
Same thing.
What do you want to say?
Same thing we were talking about with CJ. He's got kind of the shooting blinders on right now. If he's going to try to lead that second unit, he probably needs to look to pass a little more. But I don't mind him shooting open threes or trying to create a little bit with that second unit with how stagnant it was last game.
Yeah. Gray Hughes says, what about having Whiteside play power forward and Zach play small forward when Nurk comes back? All three on the court at the same time.
Well, no one would get into the paint, but our three-point defense would get even worse.
Yeah, you want Zach out there chasing around a guy like Kawhi Leonard trying to take away the three ball from him. Zach's defense goes from good to bad when he moves down from a big position to the small forward position, because his perimeter defense is not up there with his interior defense, and you're just putting him out there on the perimeter to defend. Your ball handling outside your backcourt is non-existent, so you would see teams pressuring Dame and CJ in the half or in the full court, getting the ball out of their hands, because you have three people on the court who literally can't dribble up the court. So that'd be a problem. Your shooting wouldn't be good. Collins can kind of shoot a little bit, but Whiteside and Nurkic, neither of them can shoot. So Dame and CJ aren't going to have lanes to drive. If they drive, they're going to get stifled, because you're going to have so many bodies in the paint, because Nurkic and Whiteside can't shoot outside of, like, Nurkic can shoot mid-range, but it's not a good shot, and Whiteside can't shoot outside of the paint. So that doesn't work for that reason. There is many reasons why that wouldn't work. Whiteside with Nurkic alone couldn't work, but then also moving Collins down to small forward, he can't play that position. It's just not something that'd be possible. It wouldn't work with. It just wouldn't work.
So D-Dog is saying Simons did drop 37-9 on Sacramento last year, but it's completely different when you're saying, because before the game they're like, okay, Simons, you're going to play this whole game. We don't care about this game. We're trying to lose, basically. I know they didn't say specifically they were trying to lose, but that was just a joke. But it's a total.
The team kind of probably felt like it when you put out Simons for 48 minutes and like other guys like that. They're probably just like, oh, this game doesn't matter.
Because he knew before the game that he was going to get to play the whole game. So no matter what he did out there, he wasn't worried about having to come out if he screwed up or turned the ball over or anything like that. So he just went out and played. That's completely different than in the first game of the season. You're in a big role and you're expected to come in and do a certain job or whatever. And that's a lot different situation.
Yeah. So Simons will be fine. That's the thing. People need to relax on him. Like, he'll have nights like he did against Denver where he doesn't shoot the ball well. He has a couple of turnovers and he just doesn't help the team. And he'll have nights where he goes off. He'll have nights where he'll have 15, 20 points, I think. So you got to take the good with the bad. The bad will help him get better. So it's a process with him. You just hope that if he is struggling, other guys on the bench can step up in support of him. Maybe it's a Hazonia making plays. Maybe it's a Bazemore scoring the ball a little bit, stuff like that. You just hope that that bench unit can have his back. Segueing into the bench unit, was I not right about them playing in the half court?
So what happened to we're going to run this year? They did a little bit at the end of the first half, and we went on a huge run. We had steals. We were out flying around, dunking the ball. It was great. But that was the only 2-minute period in the whole game we even tried to run the ball. So it's back to the same thing. I hope that wasn't just a training camp thing, the cliche that coaches always say. But yeah, I was kind of discouraged that they didn't try to run a little more, especially when they were struggling in the half court.
Yeah. It seemed like the bench didn't really have many opportunities to run, though.
That's true.
I don't know. They got some turnovers, but it wasn't like the type of turnovers that lead to fast breaks. So they were kind of almost forced to play in the half court because they didn't really have good opportunities to run. So they got stuck in the half court, and that half court offense with that bench movement, you got a lot of guys moving in a circle around the 3-point line and the baseline. That's what I saw with that bench unit, and it was almost like the ball never went inside the 3-point arc. The ball never went inside the 3-point arc, which I think is ridiculous. The only time it did was, when they shot and Scal got an offensive rebound, or the rare time where they'd throw it into Scal and let him post up, which honestly was probably the best half-court option for that entire bench unit, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, Scal can get that little hook in the middle of the paint anytime. I don't know why when we're struggling we just don't dump it down to the post more often.
Yeah, especially when it's like there was multiple possessions in a row. We're only getting contested long mid-range jump shots, which is the last shot you want to get in a possession. And that's just because for 15 to 20 seconds, we waste a lot of time moving the ball around the arc and not back screening for guys, not getting cuts open where guys are actually cutting towards the rim. It's guys running weave around the perimeter, running flare screens around the perimeter, passing around the perimeter, and then all of a sudden there's 5-6 seconds left. Somebody has to create something, and that bench unit doesn't have anybody that can create out of nothing. Like Simons can a little bit, but he's nowhere near Dame and CJ's level yet in that regard, so you're still going to have a rough time with Simons trying to create something out of nothing like that with the shot clock winding down. Hazonia isn't that type of player either. Bazemore could maybe do it a little bit, but he's still not that type of player. Like, you don't have anybody on that bench you can just give the ball to and they can go get you a bucket consistently. So that was the problem I saw with the bench unit. I don't think they should stagger Dame and CJ for that reason. I think you need CJ in the game so that he can bail out that offense when it struggles like that, when it bogs down. And it also might get CJ going, running a whole unit by himself, playing against bench players, which should be easier for him to score on. That might get him going for the rest of the game, because when he played with the bench during the fourth quarter, that's where two of his big buckets came. He hit that three, he hit a drive inside, and that was really the only stretch where he actually played decent that entire game.
Yeah, and so I mentioned this in the chat on your post-game show, but it was at least 3 or 4 minutes in the second quarter where the Nuggets had Jamal Murray guarding our power forward Anthony Tolliver, and we did nothing to exploit that matchup. Like, that's unacceptable in an NBA game for the opposing team's short point guard to be guarding your power forward and not to even do anything to take advantage of that situation. And then War of Mankind just mentioned in the chat that we need to go to Hood in the post, which we did not do at all last game either. He had a couple of drives where he backed his man into the post, but why not feed him the ball in the post when he has a mismatch? And that's the whole point of having Hood on the team, is like he creates mismatches on the offensive end when teams use their small forward to guard Dame, like they had with Torrey Craig guarding the lead guard most of the game. We need to take advantage of these mismatches, and that's frustrating when we don't.
Yeah, even when it's a small forward. Like, if it's a guy that's 6'6", Hood can post him up. If it's a guy like Barton who's 6'6" and skinny, like, Hood could win that matchup in the post more often than not. He has enough shooting around him to give him the space to be able to score down there. When you look at a team like Sacramento, if they slide Harrison Barnes over to one of the guards, then you'd have Buddy Hield or De'Aaron Fox on Rodney Hood. He could win that matchup. I don't expect Sacramento to guard one of the guards with Harrison Barnes, though. I expect them to match straight up. De'Aaron Fox is a good defender. He'll guard Dame. And then you'll have Buddy Hield on CJ. And then you'll have Harrison Barnes on Rodney Hood. Now, Harrison Barnes is one of the better low post defenders in the league. That dude's a good low post defender. He's also 6'8". He's strong. So that's a guy where it'd be like, okay, maybe we don't try and post up Rodney Hood, or maybe we post him up once against Harrison Barnes to see how he does. But that's the type of guy where it'd be hard for Rodney Hood to get a bucket in the low post against. So it's almost just like playing your matchups. If you have a guy that Rodney Hood can take advantage of, you got to abuse that matchup until they do something to stop it, especially if the offense isn't hitting perimeter shots. That's something that we didn't see in that opening night, which really bothered me. You gotta take advantage of mismatches, just like Portland did when Jamal Murray guarded Rodney Hood in the postseason last year. They actually went to that matchup quite a bit, and it won them that 4 overtime game, going to Rodney Hood in the low post against Jamal Murray. He had 2 mid-range jumpers against him with about a minute left, and then, of course, he had that big 3, but I don't know. I wish they'd abuse mismatches a little bit more.
Yeah, so with Fox and Hield, Dame and CJ should be able to get around those guys. So you think in this matchup, Hood should be more of a kick-out guy for the penetration instead of trying to exploit the mismatch. Like you said, Barnes is a decent defender for what Hood likes to do. So Hood in this game will probably get some open jumpers that he's going to need to knock down. Probably not as much of a matchup where you want to go to him unless he's playing in a situation where Bogdanovich is the 3, then he could definitely take advantage of that. But when Barnes is in the game as guarding Hood, it's I think we want to go to Dame and CJ a little more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
One thing too, so last game, there were several times where, so Denver's whole philosophy on the pick and roll when we were on offense was to double team the ball handler in that situation. And there were several times where Dame had like Jamal Murray or someone guarding him where he can blow by him. They don't need a pick. And it just frustrates me when we bring the double team to them. So this is another game where Dame and CJ can get by Fox and Hield. So they don't need to pick necessarily every play to do that. I just wish they wouldn't rely on the pick and roll so much to get that penetration.
Yeah, I mean, pick and roll is a staple of offense. If the pick and roll is working, keep running it. If it's, if they're doubling off it and we're not able to take advantage of that double team, then why run the pick and roll in the first place? Because what's against us? A double team that we're not doing anything against. So that's the thing with Stotts that I wish he'd improve is kind of just situational basketball, situational coaching. It's one of the reasons why I think he's a good regular season coach, but a poor playoff coach, despite the fact that we made it to the Western Conference Finals. Just situational type of stuff. He just isn't as good as the elite NBA coaches, as a Mike Budenholzer, as a Greg Popovich, even a guy like Brad Stevens. So that's something I wish he'd improve, and it kind of goes into like not running pick and roll when we're getting trapped and we're not doing anything against it. Another thing that applies is what we just talked about with Rodney Hood and posting him up when he has mismatches, realizing that mismatch and going to him and feeding him until they adjust and then adjusting to their adjustments. Like, basketball's a game of adjustments. We don't adjust enough.
Well, you just mentioned the 4 overtime game, and Hood didn't even go into the game until Harkless got a hamstring issue. So
I remember that whole, I was shouting for Rodney Hood to enter the game at the start of the second overtime, at the end of the second overtime, at the start of the third overtime. It was like, he'll have this mismatch. He's going to be fresher than everybody on the court. Why don't we put him in? And Terry Stotts wasn't going to put him in until Maurice Harkless started crapping up with a couple minutes left in the fourth overtime, which forced Terry Stotts to have to put in Rodney Hood. And there was people saying, oh, props to Stotts for putting in Rodney Hood at the end of that game. He was forced to. He wasn't going to. And it was obviously the right move, in my opinion. So just stuff like that is just stuff that kind of boggles my mind. But
one other thing too is I'm hoping the mentality of the team is that we're fine, we're good, we're a good team, and all that stuff. I hope they don't start to grip, thinking, oh crap, we got to win this one, and then if they lose again, they're like, oh, we're not doing as good as last year. Time to panic, type of stuff.
I mean, I think a Dame-led team isn't going to overreact to being 0-2. I feel like they have a pretty good perspective, but
I just hope they have their heads right in this game, because this is definitely a winnable game and one they should win. And I'm hoping they come out firing tonight.
Brian Scalabrini says, "Imagine if the NBA allowed trading coaches. You actually can trade a coach.
Technically, you can, yeah. Not for players,
but it's not." Yeah, it's not like how it is with players. It's a little different. Eugene David, what's up, man? So is there anything left that you want to foreshadow for this game or talk about from last game?
No, I think we're going to talk about afterwards that Dame and CJ both had big games tonight, and hopefully that second unit plays a little better. But I hope we're talking about how we punish them with our bigs instead of how we went small, and that didn't work. But yeah.
So anyway, NBA scores updates. Raptors are beating the Celtics 46-40 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter. Kyle Lowry has 11 points. Pascal Siakam with 7 points. For the Celtics, Jaylen Brown has 13 points. He's living up to that contract. He has 13 points in 17 minutes. Enes Kanter has not played. I don't know if he's injured or what, but Daniel Tice started for them. Hornets are holding their own with the Timberwolves. They're up 1. They're up 52-51 with 3 minutes left in the second. Hornets are an interesting team because I watched a good portion of their first game, believe it or not, and they got a lot of unheralded players with something to prove that actually have some talent. Like, you look at a guy like Dwayne Bacon, who's a good shooter and can kind of create off the dribble. You look at like a PJ Washington as a rookie, 12th overall pick, I believe. Devontae Graham is going off again. He has 14 points in 14 minutes, 5 for 7 shooting, 4 for 4 from 3. Graham had like 21 points in 26 minutes opening night, so that might be a possible dark horse candidate for most
They,
improved if he keeps playing like
they'll
this.
also regret signing Rozier to that main contract if they already had a point guard.
I mean, oh, they should have never signed Rozier to that contract. Rozier would never live up to that contract, even if they didn't have a point guard. Even if they had to play Bismack Biyombo at point guard, I still wouldn't have signed Terry Rozier for anything if I was Charlotte. But, yeah, I tweeted something out. It was like Devontae Graham's stat line. Devontae Graham's making about $1 million this year, maybe $1.5 million this year. He's been balling out, and he's a guy who I liked at Kansas. He's a guy who has a lot of talent to score the ball, in my opinion. Maybe not the best playmaker. He's kind of like a score-first point guard, but he can score the ball. He can shoot, and that's what he's proven so far. And he has them winning this game, 14 off the bench. I wonder how long it'd take for them to bench Rozier and go with Graham as the starter.
I'd be surprised if that happened, but yeah, at this point.
That'd make them look bad. So I'd be surprised if that happened as well, because how bad would it look if you sign this guy to a 3-year, $57 million contract, $19 million a year, and then you bench him 10, 20 games into the season?
For a
that'd be an obvious overpay.
Yeah, for a
second round pick.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we got Brooklyn versus New York is underway. Brooklyn is up 6. They're up 20-14. Brooklyn's at home. This is kind of a must-win for Brooklyn because they lost opening night against the Timberwolves, which is a team they should have beat. But this goes into your prediction of them missing the playoffs, of them struggling. Kyrie had 50 opening night, almost hit the sick game winner where he pulled off some like street ball type move, some like Harlem Globetrotter type move. That would have been a cool game winner to see just because of the move he put together with it. But Kyrie dropped 50 and they still lost. They couldn't defend. I thought that was a surprise
revenge
result.
game for the Knicks to try to prove that they didn't need Kyrie, right?
Yeah, for real. They got their starting lineup is Alfred Payton, Barrett.
So one
Morris.
thing about the Knicks that really surprised me, so Dennis Smith Jr. only played 10 minutes last game, and he seems to be taking a backseat to Alfred Payton. And it kind of surprised me because I thought at the end of last year that he was playing pretty well once he got traded there. So it kind of baffled me that they just kind of bench him. I don't know what's going on there. But that seems like a weird one to me because like you'd think if the Knicks are going to do anything this season, especially, they need a guy like Dennis Smith Jr. to take that next step. And if he's not even getting a chance to do so, I don't know if he's got beef with Fizdale or something, but
I mean, he has 1 minute so far. He just checked into the game. Alfred Payton has 8 minutes played to start the game. Alfred Payton's won for 3 points. They're also starting Marcus Morris at small forward. His more natural position is power forward, but they're starting Marcus Morris at small forward over Kevin Knox. So they're starting some veterans over their young guys. I don't agree with that. They're not going to win games no matter who they start. So they need to develop. Their young talent. You need to instill confidence in those guys. And I feel like benching Dennis Smith Jr. after starting him last year is the wrong move. That's probably crushing his confidence or like making, that's hard on a young guy.
Yeah, and they got Frank Ilkinina I think he played like 3 minutes last game or something too. I mean, not that he's done that much in the NBA, but I mean, at some point you have to start developing your younger guys. And this was the problem we mentioned in the offseason when you sign like 5 power forwards that are all decent players. Like you have to do stuff like play Morris at the 3 and because they need playing time. And I don't know. It just don't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Let's see here. Knicks fans I've heard don't like Dennis Smith Jr., says Brian Scalabrine. I mean, Dennis Smith Jr. is an inefficient player who doesn't really pass the ball for a point guard, doesn't really rebound, doesn't really defend. So he's kind of one of those Andrew Wiggins types, one of those like just players that are a volume shooter and not that efficient and don't do much of anything else. Imagine if CJ McCollum was not an efficient shooter. That's kind of like what you get with Dennis Smith Jr. In terms of like production. So I don't like him much as a player either. I think he still has some upside, and you're never going to realize that upside by benching him. And they're not a team that's going to be winning anything this year, so you might as well try and see if you can fulfill some of that upside.
Yeah, it's puzzling. I mean, this is only his third year. He was the Collins draft, right? It's 2017. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Guys have third year jumps all the time where they struggle the first 2 years and then they have a third year jump. So you're not helping that along if you're playing Alfred Payton
right.
ahead of
And like
him.
I said,
Of all
there were a
guys.
few times last year where he had some good games for them. You'd think you'd want to try to build on that. At the very least, turn him a tradable piece as a young asset. Um, but no,
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
Portland made, what's up, man? It'll be cool for post game shows on road games that start earlier. Um, One thing that'll be cool about those post game shows is we'll be able to keep track with games as they finish. I could have League Pass on my phone. Obviously, I can't show it on YouTube, but I could recap. I could kind of like commentate what's going on. That could be a cool segment that we do for post game shows on games that start earlier. I don't know. That just seems like it'd be some fun. Because I'm an NBA fan this
Yeah,
year more than ever because the league actually has some parity. The league's competitive. The league's fresh and interesting compared to everybody seeming like they're playing for second place behind the Golden State Warriors with their stacked lineup. Now the Golden State Warriors don't look too good. They gave up 140 points to the Los Angeles Clippers. That team will not be able to defend whatsoever. I'm excited for when we play Golden State because we should be able to drop 120 on them easily. Because our backcourt against their backcourt can't defend our backcourt. Their only good defender that plays rotation minutes is Draymond Green. I mean, maybe you'd count Kevon Looney, but we should eat them up alive.
for sure.
But then again, we could also go 7 for 28 from three. So,
So, what are your predictions on the Blazer game tonight? Blazers are favored by one and
pre-
a half.
final score prediction is going to be I'm going to say 111 to 104. 111 to 104 is my final game prediction. I think that the Blazers will get out pretty hot and kind of hold the lead. I think Sacramento will make a run in the third quarter, get the game within 5 points, and then it'll kind of be like a little bit of back and forth. And then with like once the starters sub back in the fourth quarter, I think they'll start to pull away and they'll take care of this game by 7. What's your predictions for the game tonight?
Yeah, I think they're going to win by about 4 or 5. So they should cover the spread, and I think they get a W and get back on track. Start this road trip on a nice foot, and then I really think all 4 games on this road trip are winnable. So I'm hoping they come out of this at least 3-1.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. 2-2 would be fine. I'm hoping we don't go 1-3. Being 1-4 to start the season seems scary, much scarier than 2-3, even though it's only a game difference. So yeah, it'd be good. Beef Blitz says you could be announcer, you'd be good at the hype. That would be fun, man. Like that'd be a lot of fun.
And now,
I'm kind of reading through comments here.
Bezlika.
Bazilika, you also said Nitalakina, or I don't know what you said for his name. You gotta get your names down, my guy. I got all my names down. I got Bielitsa. I got Nilakina. It's literally only Nilakina.
Yeah.
People like the T is silent. The thing is, if you look at his name and you just ignore the T, it actually is like a lot easier to read. The T just messes everybody up. So Nilakina, Bielitsa, Valanciunas.
Yep.
I'm not like Charles Barkley with Valanciunas. Draymond's out now, by the way. How long is Draymond out? I never heard anything about that.
All right, sorry, I got to bounce. Nice talking with all of you.
Oh yeah, yep. I'm gonna main screen my camera.
Enjoy
I think.
watching the game.
Yep.
Be sure to check out Tori's post game show afterwards.
For sure.
Later,
All
guys.
right, man. I'll catch you later. Nope, don't want to make my screen that big. Yeah, just hang up the Skype call will be good. There you go. Alrighty. Damn, this TV's bright. Eric's running his business. That's why he has to run. That screen's a little bright. Now it's too dark in here. I'm going to wrap up this post-game show. I'll catch you guys after the game. Looking forward to this game tonight. Hopefully we can get that first one of the season. Thank you guys for all your participation in this live stream. Sucks that we're hitting 45 right as we're logging off. We're hitting our high water mark in terms of viewership, but I'm gonna run. Gonna relax, and then gonna catch this game at 7 p.m. We got the Blazers in Sacramento going up against the Kings, and I will have your post-game show right after that, so stay tuned. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at ToryJonesYT. I will tweet out when I go live on Twitter, so you can set your notifications for that as well and be notified when I tweet out that live stream tweet. I also live tweet during the games, so maybe notifications might be a little bit much because I tweet a lot during games, but if that's something you're into, make sure to check out my Twitter. So anyway, thank you guys all for watching. This has been Tori. I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Go Blazers.